Hello, friends, and welcome to another installment of Go Tell It on the Mountain. This Sunday, I am so excited to be with First Churches of Northampton with their pastor, Reverend Sarah, and we are going to give a little bit more information about the joy that is happening this Sunday, but also just to learn how the Holy Spirit is still yet alive and moving in the Southern New England Conference. Sarah, thank you so much for making time to have this conversation with me.
I'm delighted to be here.
And I'm also just going to name right away to peep your collar,
Oh.
which is bringing a little bling bling and some pride. We're not quite in June, but we are rushing towards the month of Pride. And I might just say you can have Pride every Sunday if you want. But Sarah.
We actually have Pride in May here in Northampton because we are in the 5 college area. And we know a lot of our queer students are going to go back to communities where that's not celebrated. So while they're still here before they graduate, before they go home for the summer, we have our Pride Parade and the rainbows are out. The rainbows are flying all throughout our city.
So I usually begin this by asking a question about your call to First Churches, but I just want to tag onto something. One of the things, so I just want to say I'm going to show a little bit, have a little self-pride here for the work that your church is doing in that area. Often there's so many of our churches who are adjacent or very close to a college campus. And they struggle with like, well, how do we respond or what do we do? So to have such a forward thinking movement to say, this is what we want to do, and to be thinking about the places that people might be going home to that might not have the same radical inclusion that they might experience in Northampton. I say to you, my sister, and the churches in Northampton, what a gift to be able to give. So speaking of that, why don't we transition into that question? Tell me about your call to First Churches.
All right. Well, I've been here for 10 years, and about 10 years ago, I felt a call to leave traditional parish ministry, which is a little ironic because I'm doing traditional parish ministry now. But at the time, I felt called to start a farm-to-table dinner church that we called Common Ground. And because I'd been doing regular church for a long time, and I was tired of being the only voice in the room. And I was struck by the fact that people could come to church, go through a whole service, and leave without ever having a meaningful interaction with another person. But if you grow food together and you harvest food together and you cook it together and you eat it together and you clean up together, you start to talk. You start to have meaningful conversations and connections with people. So at the time, First Churches was looking for somebody to do children and youth ministry, and they were willing to make it into a full-time position if I would bring the idea of Common Ground here. So we nested that dinner church ministry here at First Churches. And one of the fears was that people would be more drawn to the innovative ministry than the traditional Sunday morning ministry, and they would compete with each other. But in fact, the dinner church gave people a new doorway, a new entry point into the life of the church. And they walked right through that door into Sunday morning and reinvigorated that. And then little pieces of both began to cross-pollinate. So one of the things about the dinner church was paperless music, and we now do a lot of paperless music in worship as well. So I can just teach a song right in the moment.
So is the dinner church still going on?
So COVID killed dinner church for a while, but for the last 2 years we have resurrected it a bit. Though we're going to have to let it go for a time again because during that time I was called as associate pastor. Todd Weir was here with me. We became co-pastors, and then during COVID, he followed a call to Maine. So, and it's now one pastor doing the job of 2, and after 2 years of trying to do dinner church as well, we're going to have to let that go for a bit and see if we can bring it back sometime in the future.
Wow, but what a beautiful gift that it seemed to have become such a fabric about the church that the ministry as it currently exists, that I'm sure the tentacles are blessing in other ways. So dinner church is probably one of the things that you would have celebrated and continue because of how it's blessed the overall framework of the ministry. But what are some other things that are exciting you about First Churches right now?
Well, I think what would excite you the most is the idea of how this church has become such an integral part of our city and our community. I think COVID really exposed the deep divisions in our country, and it ended up dividing communities in really difficult ways. But here in Northampton, it seemed to bring us together. It either pushed you apart or brought you together. It was an accelerant no matter what. So in our community, we took people into sanctuary who were in danger of being deported under the Trump administration. And that became this coalition of social justice organizations and faith communities working together.
Mm.
During COVID, our little shelter, our little cot shelter, which could normally hold 30 people, once you had to space those people 6 feet apart, could only hold 9. And it was just such a time of intense crisis. And we weren't using our building because we were all home. So we turned our entire building, which is a huge complex, over to the city so that we could house 50 people a night. And we were, and not just house them at night because there were no services available during the day, no places to go in and use a bathroom. We were open 24/7 for 2 years straight, so that people had access to what they needed to survive. That built so much trust within our community and brought so many different faith communities and organizations together that coming out of COVID, we realized we need something. We need to centralize our services. So you mentioned that we're First Churches. We used to be 2 congregations, at the First Baptist and the First Congregationalist. We merged. Now the First Baptist building is going to become what we're calling the Resilience Hub. And Smith College and the city and all the social service agencies and all the faith communities are all united together in this one vision of having one place where you can go to get the help you need. You don't have to run all around the city trying to find this organization or that. If you need a bill paid, if you need a cavity filled, if you need a hot meal, you're going to a shower, you're going to be able to go to one place and get what you need. It just feels like this beautiful, beautiful vision that we're all living into together. In terms of what I'm excited about, though, those partnerships, I think when we come together that way, we can do so much more together than we could by ourselves. We're not recreating or duplicating effort. And I know you love theater. And so here's just another example. We have this incredible theater company called Bombix, which is also housed in a Congregationalist church up in Florence. And they are co-sponsoring this amazing event with us, where we are bringing in this award-winning, let me see if I can get this in there, trans artist. Her name is Jo Clifford. She has a one-woman show, The Gospel According to Jesus, Queen of Heaven. This will be her first time coming to the States, and she's going to perform here in Northampton, in Boston, and in Provincetown. And Bombix, even though the performance will be here at our church, the local theater company is co-sponsoring this with us because they want to help us send the signal out to the whole community that this is not a bait and switch. This is truly a trans affirming event.
Wow.
So with their backing, it legitimates us as a faith community. And I think that's just such a powerful, beautiful partnership. We have a backpack nutrition program where we are sending backpacks full of food home with kids on reduced or free lunch. And that is something we're doing not just with the Episcopal Church and the other UCC Church and the UU Church, but with the local evangelical church, because it's something we can all believe in together, and that builds relationship. And it's really about building these relationships. So you're coming this Sunday, and we're going to have 5 churches together, a big ecumenical service to welcome you. And as excited as I am to hear you preach, I am also super excited because a local group called Trans Relocate is coming to speak to us during our Be the Change moment. Our worship is never just about 3 hymns and a Bible reading and a sermon. We always have a Be the Change moment where does your faith get put into action? What can you do this week to make a difference, to be the light that Christ is calling you to be? And so Trans Relocate is a division of Pink Haven, and they are helping trans people who the UN is now referring to as displaced people within our country, because there are certain places in the country where it is life-threatening to be a trans person. You can't access the healthcare you need. You are in danger of losing your job. You don't feel safe sending your trans kid to school. Trans Relocate is doing just that. It's helping trans people relocate to states where they can access everything they need to thrive. And so they're going to come and they're going to worship with us. And then after church, they're going to do an information session and sign up people who can do everything from offer a ride from the airport to open their homes to someone who needs to come stay here for a while. So I'm really, really excited about that. Can you tell I'm really excited?
What I wanted to offer is, we were talking a little bit before earlier that where people don't seem to have hope sometimes about faith communities, right? People, churches in our churches, some churches are struggling. Some churches are really trying to piece it together. And then there are other churches who are deciding in a very tangible way that we are an extension of the community and the community is an extension of us. And what I hear you describing is this desire for First Churches to be such a part of the fabric of the everyday life of Northampton that somehow, you see that the sinew, that they connect, that there's a symbiotic relationship. And yes, you know that one of my things is like, I want our churches to be in partnership, with the community in such a way. And it's not for me about proselytizing or somehow pushing our faith upon people, but it is about saying that the hope that we espouse is motivated by our faith, but that faith compels us to create inclusive spaces, to feed the hungry, to give clothes to those who are not clothed, and then also to help people who might feel imprisoned, even if that's in mind or body or spirit, that they might be liberated. Everything that you have said, Sarah, is about a form of liberation. I'm glad that you and First Churches is a part of the Southern New England Conference of the United Church of Christ. So thank you for that. How can people join us on Sunday?
You can join us by coming to 129 Main Street and worshiping with us in person here in Northampton. We'd love that. But if you can't join us in person, we'll be on YouTube. We've got our own YouTube channel. So just get to YouTube, plug in First Churches of Northampton, and click on the live video, and you'll see us live.
Thank you so much, friends. I hope you have enjoyed my time with Pastor Sarah Buteau, who is the pastor of First Churches of Northampton. I'm going to be there this Sunday. First Churches of Northampton is just an example of many of the churches in the Southern New England Conference where you can find hope and light. If you're watching this on Facebook, right above Sarah and I, you will see a link to the First Churches of Northampton website. If you're watching this on Instagram, you will see a link that you will have to copy and paste, but you can also get to it as well so that you might be blessed by the work God is doing. Sarah, thank you so much. And I can't wait to be with you and our ecumenical partners this Sunday.
We're so excited. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.